guys, it is Aoife from Fred We See Died Laughing, and I'm here with my weekly wrap up. This is a day late because I was actually in Edinburgh from Friday until Sunday, and I only got home on Sunday night and I stayed in my friend's house, which was closer to work. So I'm only home today and able to do my wrap up. Though to be honest, I did not read a lot this week because I was just busy, and then with being away in Edinburgh I didn't really read that much. And then at the start of the week, I don't know, I was reading quite slowly for some reason and I didn't actually get that much read. So I'm here just to show you the books I did read and also show you some little bits and bobs that I picked up in Edinburgh. So it's a weekly wrap up and an Edinburgh haul. So the first book I read this week was Sense and Sensibility by Joanne Trollope. This is a modern retelling of Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, and this one was quite enjoyable. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think if you really, I love Sense and Sensibility. It is my favourite Austen novel, and I think if you are like me and you really love the story and the characters, you probably will like this as well. I really liked Eleanor. I mean, I think most people's favourite character in the classic is Eleanor, and I really liked her in this. She was definitely the best character in it. Marianne, for me, in the classic, in the original, I like her, and you know, she kind of gets away with being that little bit selfish and being a little bit like full of herself and stuff like that. Like, there's just something about her that she is endearing, so you do forgive her for her flaws, where in this one I don't think she was as endearing. I think she was actually a lot more bitchy. She came across as a lot bitchier and a lot more selfish. And the Colonel in this one is just the cutest person ever. I loved him. He was definitely probably my favourite male character, not Edward. It was definitely Colonel Brandon. That was my favourite. Willoughby, I'm one of these people where I think Willoughby is almost a very tragic character in the classic. There's just something about him where you do, even though he has done terrible things, you do have to feel sorry for him, and you know he does really love Marianne, where in this one I don't think he came across that way as much. He came across as a lot more of just like, basically, like, he's basically like called a fuckboy at one point in it, I'm pretty sure, and like that's basically what he is, and so he comes across as a lot more like that than someone who is kind of tragically forced, like kind of forces himself to do things that, you know, he probably doesn't really want to do, and ends up being like, you know, horrible because of it. This one he just was horrible. So yeah, I did enjoy parts of it. I did enjoy the fact that there were times where I could read it and I could almost forget that it was set in the modern world, until someone, like, you know, took out their phone or did something like that. But I do think that it was brought over really well. I think respect was shown to the original characters and the original story. It did have like its own kind of little modern twist that made it kind of its own story as well, so I did quite enjoy that. This book I read this week, and it's the book that actually took up most of my time this week because I read it from like Tuesday till Sunday night, was The Taming of the Queen by Phillipa Gregory, which was on my books I wanted to read by the end of 2017, so I have ticked that off. And this is all about Catherine Parr, who was Henry VIII's last wife, and she was the only wife obviously that outlived him, and this is all about her marriage to him and how, you know, she didn't really have any choice in her marriage. He set his eyes on her and she couldn't refuse him, even though she was in love with another person. And I found her story of this really interesting. She was a scholar and she was very religious, and she was more like, she was a religious scholar, and she actually published books in her own name, and I didn't know that about her, so I found that really interesting. She's like one of the first women in England to publish books under their own name or something along those lines. So she was a very interesting person. I never knew that about her before. Like, pretty brave in her own right, dealing with Henry, being married to Henry. There were times where, you know, she was under suspicion, and yeah, so definitely an interesting read. I really enjoyed seeing her relationship with Henry's children in this, so Mary, Elizabeth and Edward. That was pretty interesting because she was kind of the one that brought them together. She was the one that seemed to convince Henry to put Mary and Elizabeth down as successors after Edward. So she, I guess, can be almost credited for Queen Elizabeth's like 40-year reign, because she was the one that told him that he should do that. So that was like just really interesting to see that dynamic, and just how she was treated by the court. And one of the things I really loved in this one as well was the court fool, Will Somers, who was Henry's fool for I think years and years, and I think he went up until like the reign of Mary. I think like he was the court fool for a very long time. and the way he's done in this is really, really good, because he's obviously a survivor because everyone else around him has been killed, but because he is the fool, he's almost overlooked. And there's times he's like speaking in riddles almost to Catherine, and he obviously knows what's going on in the court. And I just thought the way he said things, and he was able to kind of deliver messages and warnings and stuff to Catherine, were really cleverly done. I really liked how that was done, and obviously a very interesting character, so I think I would actually like to read more about him if I could. So yeah, definitely one to check out. And because it was a little bit slow for me, so I did kind of start losing a little bit of momentum halfway through this. I did give it a 3 out of 5 stars, but I did still quite enjoy like learning all about Catherine Parr, and I will definitely go on and read Three Sisters, Three Queens. And I also think I need to read Phillipa Gregory's books about Elizabeth, because I don't think I've actually read them, so I need to check them out as well. The next book I read was The Secret Loves of Geek Girls, which is kind of like a collection of essays and graphic novels by different women in kind of the sci-fi world, and in like kind of graphic novels and comics and stuff like that. And it's a bunch of kind of essays about relationships and relationships with themselves, and loads of different kind of things. It's mostly kind of more about like love relationships, and there was some that I really liked in this. There was a couple that were like, there was one essay that was basically just telling you how to online date, and I was like I don't need this. I think most people know how to, at this point, like most people know how to do online dating. Like it's not a big deal anymore. So I thought that was kind of a pointless one. I don't like, you know, not many people really need like a whole essay about exactly how to do online dating. And as I said, I did enjoy like some of them. The graphic novels went a little bit over my head. The graphic novel bits, or the comic strips I should say. I was reading it on my phone, and for some reason I wasn't able to zoom in properly, so sometimes I found it hard to read the text because it was quite small. But yeah, I didn't really like them. I kind of skimmed through them a lot because I wasn't really as interested in them like for the essays. And then near the end I kind of started getting a little bit bitter, because I was like yeah, like all these girls have like found all these really nice guys eventually who just get them, and I was like, okay, yeah, you found your nice geek guy, but like where's mine? Like I'm still here, single as fuck, like, you know, where's mine? Like, where's my happiness? And there was this where we were kind of like reading all these essays about how these, like, not every single one ends in like a happy relationship. Some of them are just like dating woes or life lessons learned through dating and stuff like that. But yeah, near the end, for some reason, I started to get a little bit bitter. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. And at the moment, I am about 35% through Showstopper by Hayley Baker. And this is really good, actually. I'm really enjoying this so far. This is about this kind of alternate world where there are like, the population is separated into pures and dregs. So it's basically like, around all the talk that's happening right now about immigrants coming in and stuff like that, that there was kind of this division. There was division in like countries where like immigrants were, and like people, a lot of people of colour and people, minorities groups and stuff like that, were transformed into these dregs. And I guess the more privileged in society were called pures, and now the pures basically rule the world. A little bit like, it's not like dissimilar to like what Nazi Germany would want and what happened to the Jewish community in World War II. It's very similar, where now it's like obviously been going on a very long time. You know, the dregs live in slums, they are servants, but there's also this circus, this cirque, and the children are, you know, if their parents I think can't pay for them or something, they are put into the circus, and basically like they can die in the circus. Like the purists come to like see a show, and they don't mind if people die, and like there's really dangerous acts kind of almost encouraging the participants to die. So it's a little bit like the Hunger Games. It's the closest thing I've read so far since I've read the Hunger Games that like comes close to the Hunger Games while still being completely original, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. So I will let you know next week how that goes, but so far it's really good. So I decided I would show you just a little kind of haul from what I got in Edinburgh. So one of the first things I actually bought, I found this lovely little like kind of secondhand shop, and it was, I think it was just literally, I'm pretty sure it was just called Edinburgh Bookstore or Edinburgh Bookshop, and I found these beautiful classic editions of Sense and Sensibility and Jane Eyre. So this one is Jane Eyre here. This is Every Man's Library, and this is I think this was published in 1930, and there's this little inscription at the front. as you can see there, and it says Marie Day, Rotterdam Municipal High School, October 1930 to July 1936. So obviously this was maybe a female student's book while she was in school. As you can see there, it's lovely. Yeah, so I just saw this. This was, I think it was like £8, and then this one here, the Sense and Sensibility, was £7, and it has a lovely spine there. And I think this one was published in 1950s, which isn't like too long ago, but this one has lovely pictures in it as well. So yeah, I just really like them, so I picked them up because I was like, these will be special, and I also kind of want to try and collect really nice editions of Sense and Sensibility because it is my favourite. So yeah, I just really love having these on my shelves. And then I went into a beautiful bookstore, secondhand bookstore called Armchair Books, and I did put up some photos of there on Instagram, and it's literally like a book haven. It was absolutely wonderful, and as soon as you walk in the door you are in this wonderful science fiction section, so I was in heaven. And the first thing I got a couple of books. The first thing was The Children of Hurin by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is kind of more stories obviously set in Middle Earth, which is set before The Hobbit and before Lord of the Rings. So this is gorgeous. This also has some pictures. Let's see there. I'm pretty sure I have read this before from the library, but I did want my own copy. So yeah, this is just beautiful, and I can't wait to read this soon. Another book I got will excite a lot of people, but it is The Final Empire, which is book 1 of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And yeah, I still have not gotten around to this series, so I saw it there. I think it was £4.80 for this book, so I was like, I might as well just pick it up while I'm here, and it will encourage me to read some Brandon Sanderson next year, because I just hear so much about this series and I just kind of want to know what the big fuss is. So yeah, I'm really happy to finally have this copy. And then the last book I got is actually it was just kind of more of a chance like book to pick up. It just looked really interesting, and it's this lovely impressive shiny edition, and it's Ilium by Dan Simmons, and from what I'm getting, this is basically like the Iliad by Homer but in a science fiction world. It's like this big space opera, and it just sounded very interesting, so I decided to pick it up, and this one was £3.50, so there you go. And then how much The Children of Hurin was £4.80 as well, so like that wasn't a lot of money for these books, and I'm so happy I got them. Other small things I got while I was in Edinburgh, I found this beautiful Harry Potter shop, and it was called Diagon House, and I got these beautiful postcards. So there's this one which is Harry's letter from Hogwarts. I have this of the Marauders map, this one which is like the ticket to the platform 9 3/4, and then this lovely Ravenclaw postcard as well, because Ravenclaw is my house. So I thought they would look really nice if I was able to put like 2 and 2 and put them in a frame. I think that would look really, really nice, so I'm going to try and do that. And then one of the things I got as well in just a stall was this really cute wooden plaque which says Dog's Day every day, and I just thought that was really, really cute and very me, so that is probably going to go up here somewhere. Maybe I'll put it here. No, can't really see it, it's up here. So that is definitely cute. And then one last thing I got when I go to other countries, I like to try and find like really unique like salt and pepper shakers for some reason. It's just something I started to collect a few years ago, and I've kind of just kept it up. So I found these really cute little Highland, and they're just super cute. So yeah, I really love them. So thank you guys so much for watching this wrap up and haul. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know all your thoughts down below as always, and I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.